Actually, I'm gonna steal this bench here.
What? There's no props, dude.
No, I know. I'll explain now.
Oh, you're just old?
You'll see.
Do you have hemorrhoids? What's the matter?
I have a baby. No, before my story time starts, I learned something this past week when I talked to Laura and found out there was no theme. And I went, I like structure. So I decided to pay homage to one of my favorite children's stories and choose your own adventure. So I present you guys the options, and you can decide by applause. You get to decide ultimately which one happens. Story number 1, appropriate timing, why being Catholic has given me a fear of fainting in public. Story number 2, Central Park, crazy guy dressed as Santa or something completely cooler. And story 3, when somebody hands you pills and says, take these, this is why you say no. So, first up, number 1. Next up, number 2. And finally, number 3.
Although you have to promise that you'll come back and try to tell in December, because that's one of my favorite stories.
See, that's the theme. Always keep them wanting more. So, technically, I don't necessarily need this, but I lived in Edinburgh, Scotland. And the cool thing about Edinburgh, Scotland is there's a huge variety of people in Edinburgh, Scotland. You can find people from Australia. You'll find people from New Zealand. You'll find people from Finland, Norway. But the great thing about this is the guy from Fargo, North Dakota is like the albino elephant. Everybody wants to talk to the guy from Fargo, North Dakota. And I got various cool nicknames. They thought very long and hard. Fargo. Dakota was another one. Also, Feckin' Yank. And the thing you learn about the culture is, when I went out there, I thought, you know what? I'm gonna live. I'm gonna experience things. I'm gonna open up my possibilities. I'll be interested in anything as long as I'm not putting some sort of needle into my veins. At one point, as we gathered at somebody's flat, somebody had a handful of pills and said, here, take 2 of these. Seems pretty reasonable, right? What I didn't know is that's kind of common for these people. It's a game. You select some pills, you find out what happens. So I took 1, and they were like, no, 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 you take 2. Oh, this is great. So I took my 2, we proceeded to go out to the clubs. And actually, I was thinking, this is kind of lame. Like, isn't something supposed to happen? And there was a band playing, and originally I started noticing, like, wow, I really like this band. Which, if you know me, that generally doesn't happen. I'm typically the old man who's like, I'm trying to have a conversation here, people. And when the band stopped was when my nightmare began. Because they love their electronic house music. And for those of you who enjoy that, fantastic. For those of you who have taken pills and they don't know what they are, this becomes really bad, because at one point, it's that music where it's and then that bass. And I realized that my heart was following this bass. And I couldn't stop it. And every time it was just like... And finally, I'm sweating, I'm shaking, and I'm like, I have got to get out of here. And I didn't even say anything to anybody that I was with. I was gone. At some point, they realized something had happened to me, and they found me outside staring at the sky. I was still pretty unaware of what was going on, but they decided, well, let's go back to the flat and continue the party there. And things got much better there. No house music, people are talking, and I remember distinctly, I was sitting on the couch talking to somebody, and everything was pretty good at this point in time until everything started slowing down, and the person started going, "Are you okay?" And I was freaking out a little bit there, but then their face started melting, and I ended up with a skeleton staring at me going, "Are you okay?" I proceeded to look over and see furniture starting to melt, and everybody else is cool at this point in time. So in my mind, I needed to get away. Getting away apparently went locking myself inside of a closet. And at some point while I was in the closet, I had the notion of, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm seriously gonna die. I'm gonna die. This ended up everybody else trying to get into the closet, and me holding the closet shut, repeatedly saying, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. At some point, they decided to leave me alone, and I ended up falling asleep. The weirdest part is, has anyone woken up in a closet? I can only explain it as it's like waking in a coffin that's stuffed with shoes and having no idea where the hell I am, and at some point figuring out there was a door and opening the door and trying to recognize the flat in which I had been in and not remembering anything from the evening, and finally finding out from friends that apparently what I had taken was a mix of ecstasy and acid. So the lesson is, drugs are bad. If anyone ever says to you, hey, take these random pills, the answer is no. Trust me.